Hi, everyone. This is Barbara Way from the and I think if everyone would like to unmute or share their screen, they may not want to unmute yet. I'm going to hand this over to Joyce, who is the president of Front Royal Women's Resource Center. So Joyce, take it over.
Okay, thank you. It's exciting to be here this afternoon. I have been acquainted with Cadyn for a long time. She is one of our Dare to Dream grant recipients from many years ago, and that along with her shop on Main Street was the first opportunity I had to meet with her. So we're glad that she's here today. As Barbara said, I'm president of Front Royal Women's Resource Center. And if any of you have been with us before, you've heard this many times. If you haven't, we'd like to introduce that our vision is to empower women to change their world, not the world, just the one that they're creating and they're a part of, and the way they want that to be for them and for those that they share their world with. And our mission is to support women in the community through programs, information, and education. And today's event, Women in Networking, is one that we usually describe as our informational meeting. It is always the fourth Wednesday of every month at noontime. And it gives us an opportunity to learn new things, things that are going on in the community, excuse me, and things that are happening with women in the community, both through their businesses or professions or whatever. We have two other networking events. The third Thursday, we have an event called Woman Gathering. That's an evening event, similar format to this. However, the programs tend to be more inspirational, although they're informative as well, but they tend to be more inspiration driven. And they're always a fun way to share with others as well. And then our third and newest networking is called Center Stage. Center Stage is the opportunity for women to make a short video to highlight their vocation, avocation, whatever, to share through Facebook with the community. We have Jen Avery, who's a videographer as well as a real estate agent. Will set up a time and do a video that will help promote your business or share information about a special event for an organization you may belong to, those kinds of things. So that's Center Stage, sort of highlighting, putting you in the center of sharing. So we're excited to have all of those opportunities. We'll all introduce ourselves. And since I'm talking already, I'll keep talking. I am the president of Front Royal Women's Resource Center. I'm a retired educator. I still work part-time as a substitute teacher, and I also work with the Warren Coalition, who is an affiliate for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And so I coordinate that program. So if any of you or you know of anyone in Warren County who has a child under age 5 that would like to receive free books monthly through the Dolly Parton Library, please check out a registration form. You can get them online at the Warren Coalition website. So with that, I'll move over. I guess, Barbara, you want to go next? You're next on my screen.
Okay, that's fine. All right. As I said earlier, I'm Barbara Way, and I am the executive director of the Front Royal Women's Resource Center. And I'm so glad everyone's here today. I know we probably have a lot more people we're not seeing because we're live on Facebook at the moment, and we will record it. So hopefully other people will keep joining as we go along. But welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Besides being the director for the Resource Center, I'm the president of Samuel's Public Library, which if you know and you're in the community is an amazing little gem of a library. And I don't know what else, but I've been here for about 30 years and raised my children here, and they're off in the world. And here I am in this beautiful Shenandoah Valley during this past year. I can't tell you how grateful I am to live here. You know, I know most of us feel the same way. So that's who I am, and I will send it over to the next person on my screen, which is Deborah, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, hi. This is the first time I've been joining this group, and it's really exciting that you do this. I live in Savannah, Georgia. I am a retired professor of art at the Savannah College of Art and Design, primarily teaching color theory. And now I'm an artist and happy retiree. I think more important, though, I happen to be the mommy of Caydn Speziale. And I'm really excited to hear what she has to say today. So thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining.
Mm-hmm.
Isadora, you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Caydn's sister, and I'm just so proud of her for doing this and for all that she's accomplished so far. And I live in Savannah, same place as my mom. I mean, not in the same house, but same city. And I teach philosophy and critical thinking at a local college, Savannah State University.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a great family you come from, Caydn.
Don't I know it?
We have one other person. I don't know whether she wants to introduce herself. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself? You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm Sarah Cherry. I live in Atlanta, born and raised here. And I am a former television commercial producer. I have produced hundreds, thousands of TV spots you've probably seen over the last 30, 35 years. I am enjoying not working right now. I'm getting back into my garden. And I've been really inspired by Cadyn and Drew's Immortal Mountain posts that I've seen every one of. And I happen to be the aunt of Cadyn Speziale.
It's wonderful.
I'm
We have
thrilled to be able
family.
to join today.
The whole family.
The whole family. That's great. That's great. Well, I know more people are watching. Like I said, we found that the Facebook link is a really good thing. So people can't interact, but they can watch, which is really nice. And of course, it'll be here for, you know, to send on to other people, which is really great too. So I, since I happen to have Katie's video in front of me, I will introduce her and then she can go from there. So, well, she moved in 2009 from Georgia, where she received her BFA. She met her husband, Drew, and she has woven her background in art and design with a lifelong passion for herbs and wellness into Immortal Mountain, the business she co-founded in 2012. Drawing from both her personal experience in formal education and herbalism, she revels in sharing with her daughter the joys of identifying, harvesting, and preparing herbs for everyday use. Together as a family, they comprise Immortal Mountain, crafting distinctive herbal dark chocolates, botanical extracts, and herbal balms, and growing fresh vegetables, mushrooms, greens, and herbs for CSA subscription to our doorstep delivered farmstead goods. And I will make sure that I share your link in the chat. And certainly when, in any other way we can. And like Joyce, I've known Caydn for a long time. When she had her little shop gathered, which was so incredible. It's not surprising to me when I hear your background in your family. Everybody's so creative. And of course, I absolutely love and adore your chocolate, have forever, along with all the other things you do. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about everything that you know best. But I'm so glad you could join us, Caydn.
Thank you so much. That was convenient having someone else do my intro for me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's so nice to be here. And I'm sure, like you said, other people are watching through the stream. But it's nice to have my whole family here too. So thank you. Giving me all that moral support. Yeah, my education in herbalism has, for the most part, been experiential. I've been interested in the natural world for as long as I can remember, going on nature walks with my family and brewing up concoctions in buckets in my backyard when I was little, just thinking that they were some sort of tea, but I think it was all just pine straw and leaves and rocks and stuff. But my actual education in herbalism comes from various in-person workshops and programs. I've done sacred plant traditions down in Charlottesville. I have done a 2-year online course as well with the Herbal Academy. And the thing about herbalism is there's no actual nationally recognized certification to be an herbalist, like there is for a lot of other career paths, like massage therapy or educators of other realms. But for herbalism, it's basically experience, and you can have different accreditations as far as education that you've received, but there's no abbreviation you can put behind your name to say you're an official herbalist. So that has pros and cons, but I like to look at the pros in that we can all of us herbalists can take our own approach to herbalism and, use our best judgment, of course, and our own ethics as far as who we're reaching and the care that we want to provide. But I like to kind of take a small approach and think that, I like to consider myself our family's herbalist when we need it, but I love sharing what I know as well and what I've learned. I also worked in the natural food and herbal world for, I don't know, about five plus years maybe. And it just sort of blossomed out of that. So today I kind of picked 5 herbs, and not all of them are technically herbs. But I picked 5 that I thought would be kind of a really well-rounded group of allies for beginners, because they're all available. You can buy them online or as part of our CSA, or you can grow them yourself, which is really cool. And they're all completely family friendly, really safe, and they all have a really well-rounded benefits for myriad reasons. So the 5 that I'm going to be talking about today, it was really hard to pick because there's so many out there, but the 5 that I'm going to talk about today are Tulsi, which is also known as holy basil, stinging nettles, lemon balm, shiitake mushrooms, and lion's mane mushrooms. Now the last 2, I guess technically aren't herbs, they're in the mushroom realm, but I kind of wanted to lump it all together today for the sake of this discussion. So the first one I'll talk about is, actually, let me talk about the way that I wanted to kind of, I also picked these 5 herbs because you can get the benefit from them all, by doing the same preparation method, which requires no special equipment and anybody can do it. And that is a hot water extraction. Basically a tea. It's just a fancy word for a tea. And with herbs, you can take two different approaches to tea. The first that I wanted to touch on is called an infusion, which I'm enjoying a little bit of today. And that's more for the delicate plant parts, the leaf, the flower, sometimes berries, if you're going to be using berries. And it's basically you're putting your herbs into a jar or a mug or a vessel of some kind and pouring hot water, basically water that is just about boiling, over your herbs and letting it steep off of the heat. And you can let it steep anywhere from, sometimes I only go 30 minutes, but lately, just out of convenience, I leave it overnight and then I strain it in the morning, and that's totally okay too. So, and you want to do, as far as like measurements, I usually use about a quart-sized jar. And so for a quart, you would do like 4 to 6 tablespoons of dried herb or 6 to 8 tablespoons of fresh herb. So that is an infusion. And at the end of that 30 minutes to overnight period, basically you just strain it and enjoy it. Now, a decoction is another form of making a tea or hot water extraction. And that's more for the fibrous parts of the plant, the tougher parts like bark, roots, mushrooms, twigs, that kind of thing. And that you actually want to keep on the heat. So you bring your water to a low kind of simmer when you're going to use the same proportions of water and herbs that you would for an infusion. And you basically let it simmer on the stove for about 30 to 45 minutes. And it's going to reduce a little bit, but basically that constant exposure to the heat is going to break down the tougher parts of the plant. So you can take either of those methods and apply them to all the herbs that I'm going to talk about today, which is cool. All you need is a pot and a jar and a strainer, and you're good to go. So the first one we'll talk about, I'm gonna see if I can pull up a picture here, is Tulsi. And forgive me if I'm doing this a little clumsily. All right, can everybody see that picture?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now there are many varieties of Tulsi. Tulsi is also known as holy basil, which you might have seen, boxes of Tulsi or holy basil tea in the grocery store. It's also available as a tincture. Let's see. And I'm going to show you one more picture of that just to get an idea. Here's a few different kinds all lined up. And we grow all of these in our garden. Anybody can grow them. They're super easy to grow. They're beautiful. They are annuals, but they self-seed really easily. And bees love them. Oh my gosh. Our bees are all over them all the time. So there's actually 3 different varieties here. The bottom variety is, let's see, it's called Temperate. The middle variety there with the really purple stems is called Rama. And then the variety at the top with the really large leaves is called Vana. So those are 3 different varieties that can be grown in this climate really well. And let's see here. All right, am I back to me now? I don't know.
Yes, we see
Okay.
you.
All right. Okay. So Tulsi is actually an Indian herb. It's traditionally from India. And it's known as, the name Tulsi is actually a Hindu goddess, and it's the goddess of protection. And so it's really common for Indian households to have Tulsi planted around their front door for protection. But it's one of those herbs that is just like, how are there so many benefits to one herb? I don't know, but Tulsi is one of those herbs. It's just a panacea. It's amazing. One word that I would like to maybe introduce you to, if you've never heard it, is adaptogen. And Tulsi is an amazing, amazing adaptogen. And what that means, if you are not familiar with that word, it can be applied to lots of different herbs or mushrooms. In this case, though, it's an herb that helps your body, specifically usually your immune system and your nervous system, adapt, hence adaptogen, to external or even internal stressors, or stressors from the environment, such as pollution, viruses and bacteria, or your own stress levels. So adaptogens basically help maintain homeostasis within your body. And they can be taken long-term. They're tonic, which means you can take them on a nourishing level. And all adaptogens are inherently extremely safe with no known side effects. So Tulsi is one of these, and it can help, it can help with stress levels. It can help balance out your immune system. And it's not going to like overstimulate your immune system like some other herbs such as echinacea or elderberry would. Basically what it would do is it helps your body recognize when your immune system needs to be more active, like in cold and flu season, or if it needs to be a little more suppressed, like if there's lots of allergies or pollen around, you would want your immune system to be a little lower. So Tulsi is great for that. It's also antibacterial, antiviral. It can help improve your digestion because it has a lot of volatile oils in it, which is like the smells that you can get from it. And by the way, Tulsi smells like kind of like a combination between cloves and blueberries and basil. It's just incredible. So I'd recommend if you're into gardening, definitely try gardening Tulsi. And that would be the way you would prepare Tulsi. If you can prepare it dried or fresh, and you can do the infusion method, which would be pouring hot water directly onto your herbs, but off of the heat, off the stove, and then letting them steep. Let's see, the next one that I would like to discuss is stinging nettles. So I'm going to try to pull up a picture of that one. Now, this one does have a little bit of a caveat in that as far as the safety, it's an extremely safe herb to ingest. Can everybody see that?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. It's an extremely safe herb to ingest with, again, no known side effects, but it's called stinging nettle for a reason. It does have these little tiny hairs on them that contain formic acid, which is actually the same ingredient in fire ants. So if you have ever come across a patch of nettles, you would know it. You get stung pretty quickly, but it's a really temporary sting, goes away pretty fast. Some people actually are turning to applying fresh stinging nettles topically for pain relief, even though it seems counterintuitive, but it's sort of along the lines of apitherapy with bee stings and arthritis. A lot of people are actually using stinging nettles for similar purposes. I've never used it for pain relief. I've only used it accidentally in that regard. But again, the pain, it goes away pretty quickly. It's not that big of a deal. So if you're not interested in harvesting your own or growing your own, I would recommend getting it dried. And I'll give you a couple resources at the end of this for where you can buy just already prepared dried herbs. We do also include it when it's seasonally appropriate in our CSA for our CSA subscribers. So that's another cool thing, because the difference between fresh and dried herbs can be really fun to experiment with as far as flavor and the color of the tea that you're getting. If you do fresh nettle tea, usually the tea afterwards, the infusion is an amazing bright green color. It's really cool. Now the benefits of stinging nettles are basically a vitamin and mineral powerhouse, like more nutrient dense than spinach. It's really high in iron, calcium, potassium, vitamin K. It almost tastes like when you drink an infusion of nettles, you can taste the calcium. It almost has this milk flavor. It's really strange to experience that drinking a tea. But if you, in the middle of the summer, if you drink it iced, it feels like you're getting a blood transfusion. It just gives you this huge burst of energy, and it's really, really replenishing. It can be slightly diuretic, which means it can make you have to urinate a little more often, but it's not in a depleting way like a diuretic pharmaceutical would, because it's actually replenishing as you ingest it. So it kind of balances itself out, which is pretty cool. Herbs are a lot different from pharmaceuticals in many ways, but most pharmaceuticals are made with either they're completely synthesized or they are based in one extracted component of an herb, like aspirin, for example. Aspirin comes from the salicylic acid from the willow tree. And when you single out a specific element or compound from an herb, you're not getting all the other balancing actions that would come with just taking the whole herb, which is really evident in nettles, because it is slightly diuretic, but it's not. It's building also, so it's not only depleting you. The leaf, and you'd use prepare as an infusion. The root and the seed are actually medicinal as well. For a prostate tonic, they're really, really great for any men over, I would say, 40 to be taking. But you would prepare those more in a decoction form. Let's see. The next herb I will share with you all is lemon balm. Let me pull up a picture of that. I think this is the one. There's some lemon balm. And if any of you are gardeners out there, you are most likely familiar with this one. It is in the mint family, but it smells like fresh lemons. It's amazing. It does tend to spread pretty quickly, which can be good or bad, depending on what you want. But it is a perennial, and it also self-seeds really easily. So great for the garden, just as long as you kind of, either let it go or keep it pretty contained as far as where you would like it. But again, another great pollinator, and amazing, just fresh lemony flavor and scent. And you can really taste that lemon flavor when you make it out of when you make your infusion out of the fresh leaves. A lot of times that flavor that you're getting from herbs is from the volatile oils that plant produces, like these, where you would get essential oils basically. And when herbs are dried, those volatile oils escape. So you're not really getting the true flavor from those herbs when you use a dried herb in an infusion, although you're getting the same medicinal benefits. But when you drink it fresh, you really can taste all those nuances, and it's really incredible. So lemon balm is a great one to do fresh as an infusion. And you can use the leaf and the flower. Now this one is considered a nervine. You might not be familiar with this term, but a nervine is basically a descriptor for an herb that will support your immune system. It can tonify and just give all around nourishment to your immune system. Extremely safe, again, as all of these are. Lemon balm is a great one for kids, kids with anxiety or upset stomachs because of anxiety. Lemon balm is an amazing one for that. It's actually a really, really potent antiviral also. If you go into a natural food store and look for, I don't know, if you've ever had to look for like a cold sore remedy, like something you can apply topically, a lot of times it's going to have lemon balm extract in it. It seems to target the entire kind of herpes virus, but it is a really great antiviral overall. It's also a mild antidepressant, but it's not going to have contraindications with any other antidepressants pharmaceutical wise, which is great. Like I know St. John's wort does have some contraindications there. And it can actually help to kind of tonify and repair your immune system over time, which is pretty amazing that a plant can do that. It does taste like liquid sunshine, basically, when you drink it. So I can see how that would happen. So yeah, again, this one would be an infusion, and you can use fresh or dried. Let's see, we will move on to Shiitake, which is, again, not an official herb. It is more of it's definitely a mushroom. I'm going to pull up a picture of that one for you. These are ones that we grow here at Immortal Mountain. And we grow our shiitakes on logs. I know a lot of mushroom growers grow just out of sawdust or grain spawn, but we like to do we do experiment a lot with our growing mediums, but with shiitakes in particular, we like to grow on logs just because that really seems to be what they prefer. And they are able to produce a lot more of the polysaccharides, which is one of their main constituents that is being studied for their immune boosting properties. So let me take that back. Shiitakes are, let's see, they are very popular in the science world today for being researched on their anti-tumor properties, antiviral properties. Shiitakes are also considered an adaptogen, just like the Tulsi. Sorry, I forgot where I was. The Tulsi is, and shiitakes, and actually all mushrooms, contain prebiotics, which you may be familiar with probiotics, with basically the good bacteria for your gut. Now, prebiotics are what those good bacteria ingest. Like usually it's some sort of fiber or sugar. And in the case of mushrooms, it's going to be these long chain sugars called polysaccharides. And it is basically just food for the good bacteria in your gut. So by feeding that good bacteria, you're increasing those populations. And the more good bacteria you have in your gut, the less bad bacteria you will have. They'll overpower them and create a good defense system there. Shiitake can also help to lower blood cholesterol and by an amazing 45%. Even when high cholesterol food is eaten, as long as it's eaten with the shiitake mushrooms, studies have shown that it can help reduce blood cholesterol by up to 45%, which is kind of an impressive number. They can help to reduce our oxidative stress in our blood vessels and the amount of plaque formation going on in our blood vessels. And this is one of those allies that's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for over 6,000 years. So I feel pretty good about including shiitake in this discussion. It's very, very safe. A lot of people, some people, I do know one or two people who claim to have allergies to mushrooms, which is completely possible. You can have an allergy to anything. The thing about mushrooms, though, is that it can actually feel as if we have an allergic reaction to something when we're ingesting it and it hasn't been prepared properly. So with mushrooms, I always tell people, do not eat raw mushrooms, always cook mushrooms, because our bodies they're not built, our digestive systems are not built to break down raw mushrooms. Mushrooms, they have a similar cell structure to shellfish. They actually have chitin in their cell walls, which is evident in shellfish. So it's, I don't think our bodies are really meant to eat an entire oyster shell. So you probably wouldn't want to eat a raw mushroom either, but cooking it actually can break down those cell walls and release the nutrients and the medicinal benefits from within them and make them bioavailable. So always cook your mushrooms. And by making a tea or a decoction with shiitake, you would definitely be opening up that bioavailability. And I know it sounds kind of strange if you've never had a mushroom tea or shiitake tea before, but one of my favorite ways to incorporate a mushroom tea into my daily routine is if you're a coffee drinker, try using a French press for your coffee in the morning, and the water that you're going to pour into that French press coffee grounds, use a mushroom decoction. Try that. It's a pretty, you know, you're not going to get too much of the flavor from the mushrooms, which, you know, some people might want, but it's, if you're kind of weirded out by the idea of drinking a mushroom tea, but you want all those benefits, turning it into your morning coffee drink could be a really easy way to do that. And you can also do that with the next mushroom that I'm going to talk about. Let me pull up a picture, which is lion's mane. Lion's mane mushroom. These are ones that we have grown also. Now we grow these indoors, and it's a little more for these would be a really great beginner mushroom for people to grow who have never grown mushrooms before, if you're interested, because it's pretty, if you do it indoors, it can be really contained, and you can buy just basically like a plastic bag block of spawn that's been inoculated with mushroom mycelium, and you can just kind of follow directions and grow your own mushrooms indoors, which is how we grow these. We grow them on sort of a larger scale. We have an indoor, basically an indoor greenhouse setup where we grow all of our indoor mushrooms, which is, and lion's mane is one of these. And just to give you an idea of scale, I'm gonna pull up one more picture. Oh, never mind, I don't have it. So I was gonna give you an idea of the scale, but the fresh ones that we harvest are usually about that big. So they're about the size of maybe like a pomelo or a really, really large grapefruit. And they're just really, really cute, amazing mushrooms that have soft, they just are very velvety. And they just have these like waterfall, this waterfall texture to them. They're really, really beautiful. And lion's mane is another of these mushrooms that is really, really popular in research and like scientific studies these days, mostly maybe unfortunately on animals, but it's showing a lot of promise in nerve damage repair, and basically it's a great all-around mushroom for your nervous system. It can help with mild anxiety and depression. It can even help with more serious conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Mild cognitive impairment for your nervous system. And again, it can actually help your nervous system recover from nerve damage. So if you've had any sort of brain trauma or head trauma, lion's mane would be the go-to for that. This one does taste amazing though, cooked just like the shiitake does. I didn't even talk about eating these as food, but shiitake and lion's mane are both delicious, delicious mushrooms that can be cooked. But as far as the tea goes, again, you would want to prepare it just like the shiitakes with a decoction by, keeping it on the heat at a low simmer for about 30 to 45 minutes. And yeah, it's also, lion's mane is also really high in antioxidants as well. So it's really good for inflammation if you're experiencing inflammation. So those are the 5 herbs that I wanted to talk about today. I'm really terrible at keeping track of time, so I don't know where we are in the hour, but
You're fine.
Okay. I kind of wanted to, do a good discussion on each of them, and then just open it up to if there are any questions about any specifics or even more general questions. I'd be happy to answer any of those. Or if there's any that I should go back and give a little more detail on, I can do that as well.
I think Joyce has a question.
Yes.
Obviously, again, to use them for teas, and the other component with any of these would be the water. Any specifications, requirements, any differences that town water versus well water versus spring water make in both the taste and the benefit? More so the benefit, I guess.
That is a good question. Water is going to play a huge factor in the overall taste. First of all, I've made infusions and decoctions with all of the above that you mentioned, and it really depends on what is available to you. I think, if you're drinking, your municipal water as your drinking water, and it tastes good and you feel good about the quality, then use that for your tea. I would recommend filtering it somehow if possible, just to filter out some of those, I don't know how strong the chlorine might be or anything like that, but get the best kind of filter that you can afford, and do filter it even for your drinking water. But if that's what you're using and it's been working for you, then use it for your herbs, because what's important is just using them. You're not going to get any herbal benefit if you're not going to make them or use them. So use what's convenient for you and what's going to work. We are on well water, but we do treat it with the UV filter, and we treat it for acidity as well. But that's what I use for our tea, and it tastes great. I've also used spring water. So all of them are awesome. So yeah, good question.
I think Deborah has a question.
I do have a couple questions for you, Miss Caydn.
Yes.
I represent the herbal ignoramuses of the world. And so I wonder, let's see. You talked about the flavors of some of these things. Does the Tulsi taste a little like basil?
It does. It's not as, it doesn't have the same kind of culinary flavor that basil would have. It's not as, I don't know, to me, basil can almost taste sort of like peppery, a little bit spicy, with a sweetness too. But the Tulsi has more of, it tastes a lot like how it smells fresh. It's going to taste a little bit like, there's a little bit of basil flavor. It also tastes a little bit like blueberry and clove. Those are sort of the notes that I always pick up on. I think it's just delicious. It's amazing. Like, it's flavors that you wouldn't think would go well together, but they do. I could drink Tulsi tea every day and be very happy.
Well, I had one more question.
Yeah.
Should I ask it now or wait?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. What is this CSA of which you speak? What is that?
Well, we here at Immortal Mountain, we have a small CSA. We do still have a couple slots available. If anybody in the Front Royal or Northern Virginia areas is watching this and would like to participate, just hop over to our website and there's a link right there at the top. And it's if you've never heard of a CSA, it's a community supported agriculture. And a lot of times you sign up for an entire season, which is a kind of a big commitment. And a lot of people are, turned off by that, or they go on summer vacations. So it's not really that convenient. But our CSA is a little bit different. Not only do we deliver directly to your doorstep, but we do either 4-week or 12-week subscription links. And you can resubscribe after your subscription is up at any time. So if you subscribe for the 4 weeks and you want to keep going, then you can resubscribe. But it's a little bit, lower commitment. And but we provide a lot of fresh items, fresh mushrooms, fresh microgreens, fresh garden vegetables, eggs, chicken and duck eggs when available. And with every 4-week period, you get one herbal balm that you can apply topically that we make here, and one herbal extract. So, which is like basically a tincture in a little amber glass bottle. So and chocolates, of course. We include chocolates in our CSA too. Every week is a new chocolate. So it's a really kind of a unique CSA. We're really excited. This is our second year doing it. And we had a lot of good feedback last year. So we're doing it again. And we'd love to get a couple more members. So sign up.
I think Isadora has a question, and I know I've got a bunch too. So
I want to mention, by the way, if you don't live in this area and you're looking for a good source for buying herbs. Not only, I mean, obviously your local natural food store is a great option. If you prefer to order online, I really like mountainroseherbs.com. That's a really great resource there. So, okay, just wanted to put that out there.
So I
Yes. Yes.
have a couple of questions, and I first wanted to say, wow, you have so much knowledge, and you have given us that knowledge, and I feel like you just scratched the surface. One of the things I'm impressed about is your kind of calm way of explaining things in a way that anyone can understand, but it's clear that you have so much background knowledge and there's so much more that you can share. So I'm going to pick your brain later. But two questions I had, and they're both kind of related, is about like powdered versions of things. So like if you get a tea bag, like let's say I go to Publix, so I get a tea bag version of the holy basil tea, which I have several in my pantry right now. That's the first question, is that going to be beneficial, or how related, like how comparable is that to having the fresh or the dried herb that's from your local CSA versus getting like a tea at the store?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Tea bags are awesome. I love tea bags. They're super convenient. You can get them pretty much anywhere. You can travel with them. I mean, yeah, who doesn't love a tea bag? They're going to be less potent. So typically you want to use, you wouldn't actually think about this because the directions just say, pour hot water over a tea bag. But if you actually want to get medicinal or more nourishing benefits from them, use at least 2 or 3 tea bags per cup of water. And that'll get you more up to the proportions that I was talking about, making it with the loose tea, the loose dried tea. And it's fine. Yeah, it's still this, you're going to get a lot of great benefits from it. I would recommend buying organic if possible, just to avoid any potential pesticide or fungicide sprays that could be on those herbs. But yeah, and keep it within the expiration date too. Make sure you check the expiration dates on the box, because it's not like it's necessarily going to go bad, but it's just diminishing every day in quality. So, but yeah, a lot of people don't think about using more than 1 tea bag per cup of water. It doesn't seem very cost effective, but if you're doing it for medicinal purposes, then yeah, that's the way to go.
And let it get steep just for the 5 minutes, or as long as
with well, for example, with the Tulsi or the holy basil, that would be the infusion method. So for infusions, I like to let them go at least 30 minutes, and then straining it or taking the tea bags out, or even going overnight. It just you can kind of experiment with it and see what you like as far as flavor, but that kind of bare minimum time frame of 30 minutes is a good reference point.
Okay, and that goes for pretty much any. That goes for pretty much any herbal tea that you would get, not just.
Yeah, again, if you're drinking it for medicinal or like therapeutic benefits, yeah.
Okay, and then that relates to my second question, which was about the mushrooms infusions, or you said it in, I can't remember the word. The one
decoction.
Longer, yeah. So if you have the powder of the mushroom powder, like I have a blend of the lion's mane and the shiitake and all that stuff. But I don't drink coffee. Is there a way to make a drink out of that is palatable?
Yeah, good. Another good question, because those powders are becoming more and more popular and available. A lot of times you do want to look at the package to see if it's raw, a raw mushroom powder, or you might have to do a little digging around and investigating on the company's website to see how they process it, as far as if it is like, hot water extraction. A lot of them will say right on the bag, how they're prepared and how they're powdered. But that would be the only thing, is just making sure you do heat it in some way, if it's hasn't already been exposed to that heat process to make it bioavailable. So if it is raw, then my best recommendation for ingesting it to get any sort of therapeutic benefits would be incorporating them into soups, because that way they would be exposed to like a constant heat for long enough and it would taste super yummy. Or soups or broths. If it is already heated and has been through that process, then you can be a little more flexible and play around a little bit more, making like hot chocolate This is a really cool way to do it. They are a little bit bitter sometimes, depending on the mushroom. Reishi in particular can be really bitter, which is great for your liver, but not necessarily for your palate. So yeah, just kind of balancing that with a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of fat can help with the flavor.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have a question. Are you done, Isidore? You are. Okay. So I was talking about the coffee. How much mushrooms to water would you do if you're going to put it in your coffee?
Yeah, you can be really, there's no, I kind of gave some loose references for measurements there, but you can, I mean, that's sort of like a minimum measurement. You can really experiment with what the flavor, that you like is going to be. Again, well, I'll go over the measurements again though, but dried, if you're using dried mushrooms or dried herbs, if they're not already kind of chopped up a little bit, I would give them a little rough chop to just expose more surface area. And I would do 4 to 6 tablespoons per quart of water if it's dried herbs, and about 6 to 8 tablespoons per quart of water if it's a fresh herb or mushroom.
Oh, okay, so I wasn't sure if it was the same for herbs and mushrooms. Okay,
Yeah,
so it is. Okay,
it's just
all right.
a basic, recipe there that you
Okay.
can tweak and play around with.
Okay, all right. I also wanted to know a couple things. Do you sell the logs and the mushroom growing stuff?
We don't sell the spawn or the finished logs unless you are one of our mushroom workshop participants. We do.
Well, that was my other question is, do you have, because I know you had classes. I didn't know if you were still having classes. Yes.
We may do another class in the fall. We've the window has sort of closed for mushroom inoculation for logs anyway, for log growing mushrooms for this year. That's kind of a springtime event. You have to be sort of careful with the timing of the logs there as far as when you're inoculating them. But this was our 3rd or 4th annual mushroom workshop we did this year, and it doesn't seem to be diminishing in interest, which is awesome. So we would love to do another one perhaps in the fall. It might not necessarily be a log growing mushroom workshop. It might just be, kind of alternative growing mediums, but we're talking about that. A good resource though, if you are interested in growing your own mushrooms and you want the materials for it, we love Field and Forest. It's a really great, just all around, you can get all your materials except for your logs there basically. And yeah, we really like that, but there's a couple different companies out there. That one's a good one though. And you can also get those just ready to fruit blocks of mushroom spawn that are, they're a little bit more expensive, but if you're just interested in watching the process of how a mushroom grows and harvesting your own and just going through that fun process, that's a good way to start too.
Cool. There's something else popped in my mind around that. Oh, your shop, is it open?
We open it during our events and workshops, but it's not, we don't currently have like normal, regular weekend hours or anything like that, like we were doing 2 years ago. We stopped that last year just because of, COVID. And so we're keeping, because it is actually, we are turning it into it's our workspace as well for packing and processing. So we wanted to keep it as, sanitary as possible. So, but we do open it. It's open to the public or whoever is at the events or workshops. And we do, we have our botanicals, our chocolates, all that stuff for sale. And those are also available on our website for shipping through our CSA. And I would love to have normal hours again, but we're just trying to.
Well, I also know that you have many of your items around the area. I'm really close to the Giving Tree, so I always go to the Giving Tree, but just want to let everybody know that all your stuff is around.
It is, thank you.
And I guess I put in the chat, and I'll put in this chat, but I'll put it in the Facebook, your website.
Thank
And I
you.
know it has a list of all the things available.
We do, and a list of retailers is there as well, where to find our stuff if you would rather like find it in person somewhere. We also have a YouTube channel. We don't have too many videos up, but last year, because we canceled our whole calendar of events, we channeled that energy into doing some instructional and kind of tour, farm tour related videos on our YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you, it's sort of just a nice documentation
Okay.
of different things that go on here. So you can view that on our website as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to echo Isadora and say, wow. Lots of great information. I'm writing all this stuff down because I love to grow herbs, particularly. I like to grow everything, but herbs are so wonderful because they're so easy and the deer don't eat them.
Well,
Yay.
because they have such a good immune system. They're our immune systems because they have such a strong immune system, and they're so easy. Yeah. A really good book, one of my favorite just books for beginning herbalism is Rosemary Gladstar. I think it's called Medicinal Herbs for Beginners. I literally have read that book cover to cover multiple times, and I still refer back to it. She talks about, it's everything from growing, harvesting, processing, using. It's just a really, really
okay.
And the photos are amazing, and her way of storytelling is really fun to read.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there are any other questions, but I do see that we've got some people on Facebook, so that's nice. So it's getting out there, and you've got great information. I'll make sure to send it out there everywhere. So thank you so much, Cadyn. Joyce, you want to wrap things up? You're still here, I see.
I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to have to run. I just looked at the time and realized, oh, I got to go. But so much information. It's wonderful. I like to drink tea. I'm going to start drinking healthier tea.
Well, I heard you say you were drinking green tea, right? You were drinking green tea earlier?
Yeah.
Tulsi and Nettles would be a great just like swap, or you can even combine them with the green tea if you still want to get the green tea flavor and benefits. Yeah, you can totally mix it up and combine them too.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank all of our participants. Again, a reminder, we do this kind of event the 4th Wednesday of every month at the same time, and we'd love to have you no matter where you are. It's nice to have you join us, and also remind you the 3rd Thursday in the evening at 6 in the evening, we have a similar format and an inspirational speaker. So thank you all so much. And unfortunately, I've got to scoot. Thanks again.
Thanks for coming.
All right. I'm stopping the live stream right now, and I'm going to stop the recording.